All right, the Yosemite decimal system. So this is the 5 category classification system that we expect you to use for terrain classification. There are five classes. So, and this is where we get, if you've ever been climbing, rock climbing, there's what's called like a 5'10" or 5'9" or a 5'12". That is part of this same system. So class 5 is rock climbing. We'll get there. We'll start with class 1. So class 1 is a flat walking trail. There are no hazards, and there might be an incline, a slight incline. So this is, by definition, kind of a walk in the park. It might have a bit of a hill or a slope, but you will be able to walk it with ease. That's class 1. Class 2 is a steep hiking trail. There are tripping hazards. It includes boulder or talus slopes, and you may need to use your hand for balance occasionally. So that's class 2. That's usually when we get into what we call hiking. That is traditionally hiking terrain. Class 3 is what we call a scramble. So if people heard, oh, there's a bit of a scramble to the summit, or there's a book called 103 Scrambles. Class 3 is what's considered scrambling. So scrambling, your hands are required to climb. So as soon as you need to use both hands for balance and you are kind of on all fours going up the slope or the rock or the roots or whatever happens to be as part of the route, that's class 3. Hands are required to climb, rocky final ascents, and this is where if you fell, you would incur some kind of injury. Maybe you'd roll an ankle, maybe you'd break an arm, might be worse than that. But as soon as you're in terrain that a fall would cause injury, now you're in class 3. Class 4 is a technical scramble. So again, your hands and feet your hands are required as well as your feet to balance and required to keep from falling. So it's not optional anymore in class 4 terrain. Sometimes class 3 you can be pretty coordinated and work your way up. Class 4 is you need your hands. So you're hanging on to something, you're holding yourself to the rock usually or the slope. There is significant exposure. Now exposure is something we'll talk about probably on Elk Mountain. This is probably our first one. It's where you are exposed to some kind of cliff or fall beneath you. So you're on the trail and then there's an exposed ledge. So it's like the rock face is exposed to the sun and the world and you're exposed to a fall. So that's where class 4 has significant exposure. And if you fell, it would result not in just any injury, but in severe injury, so traumatic injuries or death. And you may want to bring, if you know you're going into class 4 terrain, the recommendation is that you bring a length of rope. You can throw a hand line, help people up. So that's class 4. Finally, class 5 is rock climbing. So as soon as you move from a technical scramble to needing rope and harness and helmet, that's where you're in class 5 terrain. So rock climbing, rope and fall protection are necessary. You are fully exposed. So not only can you see that there is a cliff or a ledge that you are near or on, class 5 is you are on the cliff. You are on the rock face. You are ascending the face of the rock. You are fully exposed. And a fall without protection would be fatal. So this is where you're falling and you're not bouncing off the rock on the way down, you're falling to the ground. So that's class 5. So the Yosemite decimal system is what we will expect you to use in your logbook as you look through when you're keeping notes on your hike. Say, okay, we're on class 1 trail, class 2 trail. Oh, there was some scrambling near the top. We are not going into class 4 for this course. That's not my field. We're going to be hiking on class 1, 2, or 3, and we expect you to keep track of that and know what they are.